Mario Sironi occupies a singular and uneasy place in 20th-century Italian art, a painter of austere power and monumental ambition whose work is inseparable from the political experiments and catastrophes of his time. Born on the 12th of May 1885 in Sassari, Sardinia, into a cultivated Lombard family, he grew up surrounded by architecture, music, and the applied arts. His father was an engineer, his maternal grandfather, the architect-sculptor Ignazio Villa, and music was central to the domestic environment shaped by his mother and sister. 1 year after his birth, the family relocated to Rome, the city that formed his visual and intellectual horizon. Sironi initially followed a conventional bourgeois path. In 1902, he enrolled in engineering at the University of Rome, but a severe nervous breakdown in 1903 halted his studies and marked the first of many episodes of depression that shadowed his life. The crisis pushed him decisively toward art. He entered the Scuola Libera del Nudo at the Accademia di Belle Arti in Rome, where he came under the tutelage of Giacomo Balla. Through Balla, he met Gino Severini and Umberto Boccioni, forming part of a tightly knit circle that would be crucial to the emergence of Italian modernism. Around 1905-06, he worked between Rome, Milan, and Paris, absorbing Divisionism, a technique of broken, luminous brushwork, yet already tempering its brilliance with a heavier, more somber mood. In the years leading up to the First World War, Sironi's work intersected with the radical energies of Futurism. He briefly adopted Futurist vocabulary and exhibited with the group in 1914, sharing their fascination with modern life, technology, and the city. Yet his sensibility remained markedly different from the movement's exaltation of speed and optimism. His modernity was weighty, slow, and brooding. Service in the war as a volunteer cyclist and driver intensified his engagement with themes of conflict and dislocation. After demobilization in 1919, he returned to Rome, holding his first solo exhibition and shifting away from Futurism toward a language shaped by metaphysical painting, particularly the example of Giorgio de Chirico and Carlo Carra, with its still, mannequin-like figures and architectonic spaces. By 1919-20, Sironi had settled in Milan, the industrial and political capital of northern Italy, while his wife Matilda Fabbrini and their daughters remained in Rome due to financial constraints. The urban periphery of Milan, its factory belts, rail yards, and working-class quarters, became the matrix for his mature vision of the modern city as a place of mute, monumental solitude. During these years, he gravitated toward the nascent fascist movement and in 1920 co-signed the Futurist manifesto Contro tutti i ritorni in pittura, already anticipating a return to order after the disruptions of the avant-garde. His figures and landscapes thickened into massive, block-like forms, arranged in strongly architectonic compositions and rendered in a restricted, earthy palette that gave his canvases their distinctive gravitas. Sironi's central historical role emerged in the 1920s with the formation of the Novecento Italiano, founded in Milan in 1922 by a group of 7 artists, including Sironi, Achille Funi, Ubaldo Oppi, and others under the intellectual guidance of the critic Margherita Sarfatti. Novecento proposed a modern Italian art rooted in classical tradition, monumental in scale, and national in spirit. Sironi quickly became one of its most forceful exponents. His paintings from this period are characterized by compressed, sculpture-like figures, a sense of archaic timelessness, and a deliberate renunciation of virtuoso detail in favor of elemental, almost stone-carved forms. He sought not the fleeting impression, but an image of civilization as something enduring, burdened with history, and sometimes crushed by it. This aesthetics of monumentality dovetailed with the ideological ambitions of Mussolini's fascist regime, and Sironi tied his artistic destiny closely to the dictatorship. From the early 1920s through the fall of fascism, he worked as a cartoonist and illustrator for the regime's newspapers. Above all, Il Popolo d'Italia, producing more than 1,700 political drawings. At the same time, he argued passionately for the revival of mural painting as the proper form of a modern collective art integrated with architecture. An art that, in his view, could embody the spiritual and social unity promised by fascism. In the 1930s, he became one of Italy's leading muralists, coordinating large decorative schemes at the Milan Triennale and executing major state commissions, including the vast mural for the Aula Magna of the University of Rome, later known as Italy Between the Arts and Sciences. The very qualities that made Sironi central to fascist visual culture, his preference for monumental public work, his rejection of the art market, and his belief in art as civic myth-making, would contribute to his post-war marginalization. After 1943, he remained loyal to the short-lived Italian Social Republic at Salo. In the chaotic days of liberation in 1945, he narrowly escaped execution by partisans, reportedly thanks to the intervention of the writer Gianni Rodari. Marked as an artist of the defeated regime, he lost official patronage and receded from the public eye. Personal tragedy compounded political ruin when his daughter Rossana died by suicide in 1948, deepening his isolation and melancholia. In the final decades of his life, Sironi returned to easel painting, yet the work no longer pursued the monolithic solidity of his Novecento years. Forms tend to fracture and recombine, like archaeological shards or schematic emblems, set within unstable spaces that verge on abstraction. Critics have read these late canvases as haunted ruins of his earlier myth of collective destiny, an art of fragments after the collapse of the world it once sought to celebrate. He continued to work, largely withdrawn in Milan, until his death there on the 13th of August, 1961. For several decades after his death, Sironi remained a problematic, often deliberately neglected figure, his involvement with fascism overshadowing his contributions to modern art. Only from the 1980s onward did major exhibitions and scholarly studies, most notably Emily Braun's monograph, Mario Sironi and Italian Modernism, Art and Politics under Fascism, begin to reassess his place in 20th century visual culture. Today, he is recognized both as a principal architect of fascist visual mythology and as a powerful, if troubling, interpreter of the anxieties of modernity. Any biography of Sironi must therefore confront not only questions of style and form, but also the ethical and historical weight of making art on the wrong side of history, a tension that continues to animate debates around his murals and their preservation in contemporary Italy.